Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another Tech Talk. Tonight, I'm joined by Knight Howe, CEO and co-founder of Relab, a platform designed to provide property professionals, home buyers, and sellers access to the data and insights they need to make informed decisions anywhere, anytime, on any device. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Knight.
Thank you, Judith. Good evening, everyone.
So we've got with this data-driven decisions at the centre of all good property transactions. Relab's industry-leading platform ensures both property professionals and real estate buyers and sellers have real-time access to thousands of property data points, and this seems incredibly useful to anybody interested in property. So you are the CEO and co-founder of Relab. So let's give us all a bit of background on yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I was not born in a kind of business family. Both my parents were teachers, and one of my grandparents is also a teacher. So I was sort of born in a sort of working class family. I was born in China. I came to New Zealand as a student on my own when I was 18 and 19 years old. Went through the university system here and ended up calling New Zealand home. Started my career with Air New Zealand back in 2006 and stayed there for 10 years. So it's great to serve the national carrier. I had the privilege of working across many roles. And after that, I spent a number of years with Spark and Datacom. So sort of first phase my journey has been corporate New Zealand and learned a great deal too.
So you got involved in the IT area quite early on.
Quite early
From your
on,
point of
and
view?
yes, I could say that I was quite well trained in a large organization such as Air New Zealand to do things properly. And I still try and implement what I've learned from a corporate environment in the startup that I'm running now, which is really beneficial.
Well, that's right. And I'm just thinking about the amount of courage that it would have taken as an 18-year-old to come to New Zealand from China, and entirely different space, and having to learn different things and different ways of doing things. So it is, I think, so commendable and so really typical of many people who come to New Zealand with great courage and determination to get ahead. I hope your parents have been very proud of the work that you've been doing.
Yes, they are, especially my dad. You know, he's just a typical Chinese parent. He wouldn't say that he was very proud of you, but I can tell that he indeed is.
Oh, yeah, I think generally they will be. So look, Knight, what's inspired you to bring this power of technology to the real estate industry? Because that's a long way from Air New Zealand and Spark. So how did you think about this?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Judith. As I said, I wasn't born in a sort of business family environment, so having to learn how business works and how do you provide something of value that people would pay for it over your competitors is really a skill and a learned, acquired skill in my case. Well, it all started with my wife. Before we had our second child, she was a real estate agent. Um, and I just used to watch how she would conduct her work. And it was relatively easy, still is, to become a licensed agent, but it's very hard to be a good one. So I would watch her late at night preparing information, jumping from one website to another, trying to pull everything together for a client meeting the next day. I was thinking to myself, wow, that's a really inefficient way of conducting your business. Why as easy as a zero for accountant or any other tech enabled business? And then I started to realize that the
So
skills,
basically,
yeah, the expertise involved in doing this job is actually you have to learn a lot, right? You have to be a good salesperson, very organized and self-disciplined, and know so many things.
And so you decided that there was something you could do. And with this, so many entrepreneurs like yourself, the startup journey isn't always a linear one. There's a lot of turns and moves and various other things. So I understand that this has happened to you as it does with many other people who are starting up. So can you tell us a bit about your journey? Where'd you go from that brilliant idea of, look, I can find a better way for my wife to do this job to where you are now?
Yeah, 100%. It wasn't a linear journey at all. We started with, hey, wouldn't it be great if we built an all-in-one platform for people who are in the real estate industry? But very quickly, we found out that selling to a large real estate firm requires you to have a good brand presence, have great enterprise-grade data, and have a mature go-to-market approach, which is a two-person startup back then, we had none of those. So I had to think creatively and go, out of all the providers in the market, where is a niche that we can serve that all the others are not serving? So we actually identified actually mum and dad investors and property developers, small scale, were a sweet spot for us because no one was serving them. They're all going by experience or in many cases rent a friend. So we focused our initial phase on them because no one was serving them. So that's what's actually got us started for the first year and a half. And very quickly we realized, hey, there are only so many of them in the market that we can capture. Now we need to scale. So that's when we start to build up our more matured B2B approach to target real estate agents.
Yeah. So how long has that journey been so far?
Well, it's an overnight success, Judith, which only took 5 or 6 years. Um, yeah, we had three pivots
Yeah.
through those 5 or 6 years, ups and downs. The business almost folded several times, but we're just lucky that there were people along the way that helped us, either in the form of customers telling us how they felt about product and what can be improved, to friends and family, to our investors, to just any person that you could share your passion with. And there's as long as you ask, people are always willing to help. That's what I've learned.
That's right. Well, strangely enough, most people are, aren't they? And I think people are flattered to be asked to help too, and actually want to see you do well when they see you're trying so hard. So, look, this advanced mapping feature lets people see these really rich map layers, detailed zoning information, underground services, recent sales and listing, as well as building and resource consents. So, this is great information for people. So, can you talk a little bit about the technology behind this?
Absolutely. I am very lucky to have a technical co-founder, Leon. He had tons of experience building information systems for the councils and other entities who are very experienced in dealing with large amount of data and also connecting different type of data together. So we've just completed another system upgrade where we introduced something called data lake. So in the old world, where you would build individual and siloed databases, which is very hard to upgrade, or there are performance limitations. Where with data lake, you can literally introduce all different types of data in this data lake, and you could run different analytical, uh, use cases, and it's high performance and high availability. So long story short, I'm very lucky to have a technical co-founder who's taking care of all of this for me, that I can focus on the business side of things. But the other
Well,
point
this very much,
is
this, sorry, you keep going.
I just want to add one more, which is over the past several years, we've witnessed, Auckland, our largest city, and many other cities going through a process of urbanization. As more houses and dwellings have been built. And through that process, the value you can place on a single piece of property actually depends, right? It's no longer just a 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom dwelling, which traditionally an agent can just do an open home and show its values. Nowadays, I think what is required from a knowledge and professionalism point of view on agents is actually quite high. That's why we try and pull the different aspects of data together in a very easy to use manner so that agents can quickly upskill themselves and be able to serve their customers. That's why we did it.
Yeah. So Relab has a subdivision feasibility calculator, which
Mhm.
sounds very interesting for developers, investors, and buyers. So how does that work? And I'm going to ask you, and what does it cost to access it?
Sure.
Because
How it
everyone's
works,
going to be asking.
yes, I hope so. Well, how it works is, again, we did not create this just out of nothing. I think the success of a technology startup is to really pay attention to your customers and observe what are they doing today and look for opportunities to either improve by providing better tools, more efficiency, etc. And this is a case where we've watched many, especially small developers, they would, you know, do a back of envelope feasibility calculation, all right, and no one can read their writing. So we go, hey, why can't we just digitize this process, bring in a bit of process and standardization, bit of science behind it, so within the same amount of time they can have the answers uh, that they would otherwise take them hours. So that was the inspiration behind it. Now the cost to access the tool, it's part of our subscription package, which is for a monthly user, it's $60 per month, and for an annual user, it works out to be just shy of $40 per month. So it's quite affordable.
It is actually, particularly if someone is seriously involved in the property area. So it is actually very achievable. What I think is interesting too is that clearly you're using artificial intelligence clearly with this amount of data and being able to make some sense of it pretty quickly. So you've just recently won something, haven't you? Didn't you just get some prize in AI that I saw? Got
Oh,
the details in
yeah.
front of me, but I think you did something.
Well, AI Forum New Zealand organised a nationwide AI hackathon campaign. I think the reason is they really want to get people who are passionate about artificial intelligence to come to this 2 day hackathon trying to tackle an environmental challenge using AI. So Relab has organized a small team of 5 very passionate um, engineers and environmental science expert, and we try to tackle the challenge of using AI to predict floods, given the devastating event that we had in January in Auckland. So yeah, it was an awesome experience. We're one of the finalists in the Auckland competition. So in this 2 day challenge, we came up with an idea of using um, an AI model called segment anything model to try and work the floods data with topology. And the idea is you can just
Yeah.
input how much rainfall you would have in 1 hour, and that would predict what sort of flooding and inundation you might have.
And it's probably going to be a reasonably accurate suggestion, actually, or result. So that's very interesting. And I mean, it's another use of AI, just taking large amounts of data and making some sense out of it. So yeah, that must have been very interesting for you. And I guess in some ways too, actually very connected to what you're doing in terms of your product and your services that you're providing. Given that there are floodplains around the place, you have to be aware of all these sorts of things.
Correct.
So, yeah. So you also offer automatically generated property planning reports. So can you speak to those? So what do they look like and what have they got in them?
Sure. That's another product innovation that we achieved in our early days. So the use case is you would have property buyers or developers looking to commit on a piece of property with development potential. Now, before they are certain that there is high level of feasibility, generally speaking, they have to jump through several hoops, and one of them is to work out from a planning point of view, are there any impediments or restrictions that they need to be aware of? Because the more certainty they have, the less risk they would have, right? There's always risk involved in doing a property development. So our goal is helping them reduce the amount of risk early on. And how you do that is by turning the Auckland Unitary Plan or any district council planning from a 1,000-page, hard to read jargon into a semi or fully automated feasibility report based on the site's location and topology and services. So that's what we're able to achieve. To basically, with a click of a button, within about 20 seconds, you would have a 30-page report generated, fully automated, based on the actual operative Auckland Unitary Plan.
And how much would that cost?
Well, for our subscribers, it's all included. So there's no
All
additional.
included in the subscription, which is about $60 a month. Is that right?
Yes.
I remember
Yep.
that. That's very good. I mean, I just think that's enormously helpful to people, and I imagine that there'll be plenty of real estate agents suggesting to people that they use those services. Which reminds me, have you noticed an influx of real estate agents or agencies accessing the platform?
Oh, we actually have. I mean, especially this year, we've seen a tremendous amount of growth in terms of the amount of real estate agents joining us. I mean, in any technology adoption, you have the early adopters, early majority, and late adopters and laggards. But this year, we're seeing the early majority and potentially some late majority switching to Relab as alternative uh, source of information, as alternative source of workflow platform. So yes, this I think by the end of the year we would have grown to 30% of market share in New Zealand.
Well, that is an extraordinary result if you can get to that sort of level, Knight, because as you said, basically you're an overnight success in about 5 or 6 years. And that is what happens, isn't it? So many businesses I come across are overnight success in the deep tech, sometimes 15 years. And it's you've got something which you can access or the market can access relatively easily and at a reasonable fee. So is the Relab available across New Zealand, or are there still some council areas that you're still waiting to add?
Sure, Relab is accessible and available across New Zealand. There will be some councils where they haven't digitized their, for example, zoning or planning information, which of course means that we wouldn't have access to them. But we're trying our best to incorporate, and councils are all trying their best too to provide a digital solution and make those information more accessible to all Kiwis. So yes, by and large, we're
Well, I think
yeah. Sorry, you go.
by and large you're pretty much across the country with the odd exception, but it's actually not your fault. Um, so, well, that's interesting. Any other comments you wanted to make or any questions yourself?
Well, I have a question, which is, I remember our conversation in the ice house about a year and a half ago, and I really take my hats off to someone like you in your busy schedule actually taking time to have visited ice house several times and sit down in the round table conversation with entrepreneurs and startups like us. So, why do you do this?
What do I do it? Well, because
Yeah,
I actually find the whole area so fascinating, and what I love about the tech and science areas is that there's always a solution. It's just you haven't quite found it yet sometimes, and even if you have found it, you've still got to be able to take it out to market.
yeah,
But I find it utterly fascinating. And I'm someone who likes to be, well, I have an inquisitive mind. So I just find it incredibly positive, and I just haven't found anyone negative in the tech or science areas, to be frank, because they're entrepreneurial, and if they haven't, as I said, found the solution yet, they're about to,
We're
but
about
and
to.
become that overnight success after 50 years. So it's just a really great thing, and it's the only way we're going to grow the economy, Night. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no other way that I can see
No.
other than science and tech. Um, and we know
uh,
at places like Icehouse, now it's Adventures, and
yeah.
a lot of there's actually quite a few now incubator places in Christchurch. There's Ministry of Awesome. There's all
Yes.
sorts of places around, and it's just so good to meet people like yourself who are taking a problem that you perceived and saying, "Hang on, there's got to be a better way." And I mean, isn't that great? So, I
Yeah.
want to see world domination in tech and science. So that's why I do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. You as an entrepreneur, you got to be optimistic and creative, and be ruthlessly focused on your customers. That's the only way you can provide a real value. And what I find, we are part of the Ice House. We it's our office, and we go there every day. And what I also find is there is almost this ecosystem in Wellington, Christchurch, and many other cities. Every time I go down to Christchurch, if I need a desk to work out of, I could go into Ministry of Awesome, introduce myself, and literally make it my home, for the next couple of days. And there's really still like sense of community with startups, with growth companies, that we kind of, spiritually all support each other.
Yeah, and you're so right. And that's the other thing, is an incredibly collaborative attitude. And it's just very seldom do you ever hear anybody being negative about any other tech startup or entrepreneur. It's always about someone else is doing well. Knight's doing this, so therefore maybe I could do it too. And that's the attitude, which is
Yeah.
just great to be around. So and you can see with places like Ice House and other places like Outset Ventures, Ministry, all sorts of. I hate saying a few
100%.
just because I know there's so many. Uh,
There's so many.
you
Yes.
really do get that feeling, the ecosystem, that you're actually part of a team, even though you're working on different projects.
Yep. 100%.
Well, thank you very much, Knight, for being with us tonight, and I've really enjoyed it. And nice to see you again. And I was very excited when I saw that you'd done so well in the hackathon. And for those who aren't used to the hackathons, it's all about finding solutions. It's not a bad
Absolutely.
thing; it's a good thing.
It is. It is a good thing. Yes. What prepare us going forward.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, well, lovely. Thank you very much, and all the best to you and your family. And I look forward to watching your continued success.
Thank you for your support.